Scenes.
They're too repetitive, they'll
Dialogue.
make no sense. All the
Actors.
are
C-list.
and the
Poster art.
the mess. There's so much here to tear apart.
Watch.
Quit for a week, now that week has passed. Here's why I hate this
Movie.
podcast with Tim and Garrett.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Why I Hate This Album. I am one of your hosts, Garrett Harvey. With me, as always, co-host extraordinaire, child of fire to my Scargiver, Timothy Richardson. Tim, how you doing, buddy?
I am enraged.
Yeah, I know. Why don't you let everybody know why?
Because where is Leonardo DiCaprio, Arthur? He's not here. Like Arthur said he would be. I let myself hope, Garrett. That's why I am so enraged.
Interesting. I thought it might have something to do with the way we've spent the last 7 days.
Oh, no,
but
not at all.
Time well spent. Yeah, no, I mean, you labored. I could tell. As of Wednesday, you were still very much in the Leo's not coming camp. But by the end of the week, it was clear that you had let yourself believe. You had gotten your hopes up, created that chair with your own 2 hands, wrote Leo's chair on it. Looks terrible, but you tried really hard. So I'm proud of you. It's probably best you didn't see it. Very embarrassing effort. But that
I think
aside,
he would like it. It looks...
I know you do. It's very uncomfortable. There's a lot of exposed nails.
Sure, it's uncomfortable. No one's saying he was going to sit in it. I just wanted it to, like, so he knows.
Right. It was more of a tribute.
Yes.
Fantastic. Yes. Arthur's caning aside, impending caning, what song or album or movie have we been listening to or watching for the last 7 days straight?
We have been listening to or watching Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, released in select theaters in the US on April 12th, 2024, and on Netflix April 19th, 2024. Like its predecessor, this was released in theaters first because Zach wants to make sure that it's eligible for awards consideration. Garrett, you cannot win an Oscar if you're not in the game.
Yeah, you miss 100% of the swings you don't take. Although I don't believe that's even remotely applicable here.
Fair enough.
And Tim, after an entire week with Rebel Moon Part 2, Dawn of Justice, do you hate this film?
Well, Garrett, last week when I watched Part 1, I waffled between love and hate. Really swung from one side to the other. Well, Garrett, The Scargiver gets a straight up goddamn hate from me. This movie fucking sucks and I hate it. I hate it so much. What about you, Garrett? Do you also hate The Scargiver?
I really, really appreciate the pronunciation on this. You're nailing it. We're really switching spots this week.
Oh my God. Absolutely not. I will get Arthur in to fill your spot.
I am what's known as an emotional terrorist, Tim. This is... It's
worse.
Ooh, that's the big question. Who takes the #1 spot for worst Zack Snyder Rebel Moon film?
Number 2, The Scargiver.
I don't know, Tim. I don't know.
Did you know, Garrett? And this is true. This is not something, I want to be really clear. This seems like something I've made up, but it's not. This is a real thing. The R-rated version is getting a different title.
Why?
Oh, because it's got some other stuff in it, you know?
Uh-huh.
Yes, it's got a new material, so of course it has a new subtitle. Garrett, it's going to be called Rebel Moon Chapter 1, Chalice of Blood.
Was there a blood chalice? Is that true?
I'm going to do it one more time.
Would you like to do it now?
Chalice of Blood.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it is. Why? Garrett.
Wait, okay, well, now you've gone and confused me. Is that going to be the title for, like, both movies together?
I don't think so. I think it's just Part 1 is becoming Chapter 1.
Ugh. It's like a Russian nesting dolls of fury. Just when given all choices, the man is incapable of making the right one.
Well, hopefully he also releases a black and white version of this, the R-rated version that we then also have to watch.
Okay, so back to your original question. Do I hate it? Not yet. Will I get there? Most assuredly.
I cannot believe I am hearing that. Even waffling on this.
Well, okay, here's the thing. I was so angry at the end of the first one that I legitimately did not want to watch the second. And so in my head, I built it up as so terrible that at least, given that the second half of the movie is just all fighting, I was pleased by that.
Disagree.
Interesting. And listen here, we are talking about fractions of a percentage.
Chalice of blood. Sorry, I had to do one more. I will be done now.
We'll see. Anyway, you hate it vehemently. I am well down the road to hate. But before we can talk about this movie, I definitely want to ask Tim, what is your personal history with Rebel Moon Part 2, the Scargiver? How many times did you watch this thing?
I watched this 3 times, Garrett.
Yep.
I watched this the day of the release. I was extremely excited for a terrible, terrible film. I was unfortunately not disappointed. It was, Garrett, I was expecting bad, and then it was so bad that I was actually, I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy this movie, Garrett. I think I'm going to enjoy this episode because I have approximately 19 pages of notes on a goddamn 2-hour movie.
Oh, I have 7.
No.
Let's do my thing.
Nah. What about you? I assume you've watched this at least 3 times.
Yes, I have seen it 3 times while hearing it and seen it once on mute. the only way to watch a film if you really want to see it. And
I mean, okay, that is true. I did watch this a 4th time while listening to the audio of the first one. It does not sync up.
No, I can't imagine it does. It'd be amazing if it did. I'd have to give that first one another star.
Zack Snyder, genius.
Nope, no. Shouldn't even kid about that.
No, that's fair.
All right, that's your history. That's my history. That is to say that we watched this way too many times. Now, Tim, I don't know what you've got planned here. We do not discuss beforehand. That is to say we don't prepare. So, Tim, what are we doing for History of the Band this week?
Oh, I chose not to do it.
Fantastic. I love that initiative. So, if you want to understand where all this nonsense came from, listen to the first episode in the Rebel Moon series. And honestly, even that's probably a waste of time. You know who Zack Snyder is. If you've seen one of his movies, you've seen them all. And if you've seen any of the most popular movies of the last 20 years, you've seen them all because they're all in one film. All right, that's our history. That's his history. That brings us to the movie itself. And man, let's get into it. We open just as dramatically as the last movie. We're talking huge orchestral chorus and some huge drums, very reminiscent of every major action movie trailer of the last 10 years or so. A lot of gravitas. And what I was hoping would happen does in fact happen. We get a previously on Lost. Jimmy's back. Jimmy's our good buddy the robot, aka Anthony Hopkins. And he is here to give us not a brief recap, not the highlights of the first movie, but a full, comprehensive recap, ending with, they returned, threats abated, or so they believed.
Or so they believe. The recap also gives an entire introduction to every single one of the goddamn characters for what I believe to be the 6th, but not last time.
And here's a hot take. Maybe this should have been the first movie. Like, maybe that first one was just a prequel for a movie that nobody wanted. Prequels never work, guys. We all know that. Just make the movie. I don't care where they came from. Honestly, that's my biggest problem with Marvel these days. They're like, well, let me tell you where he comes from and how he fits into the universe. Bitch, just show me a flying monster man.
Yeah.
That's all I want.
Fair enough. We cut to the revival of Admiral Atticus Noble after his tussle with Cora, aka Arthelius, in Rebel Moon Part 1, a child of fire. Speaking of which, Garrett, who was the child of fire from that first movie?
I think Issa?
How?
She ignited.
How?
Maybe it was Cora.
How?
She ignited the fire of rebellion.
No.
Yes.
Because they never.
Yes.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, you're probably right. I don't know. I mean, it's better than chalice of blood.
Well, I can see them having an actual chalice of blood in that movie. I don't think they will, but they could.
I see.
There were no flaming children. There was no child fire. No children emerged from a fire. All of that could have happened. None of it did.
Yeah, it's unclear. Listeners, write in. hatePodMail@gmail.com. Who is the child of fire?
Weird robot priest physicians are just shooting Atticus with electricity while he is in some sort of gross cocoon made of slime sitting in a bath that appears to be a thin lobster bisque.
Yes.
Okay.
All of this is accurate.
They tear the cocoon away from his face. Somehow, he looks even more space vampiric, as you dubbed him last week.
They claim that they shot these back to back. But I swear to God, in between the first movie and the second, that dude lost like 14 much needed pounds.
Honestly, he might have been bitten by an actual vampire, and they're like, well, we can't recast him.
Yeah, he looks sick.
Yeah. And I mean,
Anyway.
he should. He was horrifically beaten and then revived in a space cocoon.
Yeah, maybe someone deserves an Oscar for makeup. I doubt it.
No.
I want to point out some of the visual language of this film. As you mentioned, Atticus is in some sort of chrysalis. I'm not sure.
If he had emerged with goddamn butterfly wings, I am super in.
I'm a beautiful butterfly. I'm terrified. No, luckily that didn't happen. But as he's sitting, chilling in his chrysalis, as you mentioned, there's all these cables going into his body ports that we're still unclear what those are. But it is literally, I paused it to check. Blue light in, red light out. Getting all that sick red light out and putting all that good blue in.
Absolutely.
Like, what are we doing?
It's like G.I. Joe lasers, I think.
They look like they actually sell phone chargers that do this, so you can see the power going through the cord. And I would argue this is equally as dumb.
Fair enough. Atticus orders the ship to the moon Velt. He says, the Scargiver, she's on Velt. Also...
Okay, so this answered a question from our last episode. Apparently, he told nobody else when he found out she was there. And so had he died, and there was a chance that they really would have just fucking left.
I don't think so, because, Garrett, they really need that grain.
That's true.
Like,
that is reiterated
would have 100%
throughout.
gone back. They might have had to come back with a different ship or something, but they were coming back for that grain.
You're right. You know, they would have gone home because they lost an admiral, and those are the rules. They make that clear. But then eventually they're coming back. It's not just an army of one ship.
Yeah,
There's
absolutely.
other admirals.
Absolutely. But they make it seem in this movie as if anytime a battle is lost by the Imperium, excuse me, they have to completely forfeit the war. Like, just, we lost a single time? Fuck it. We're done. You guys win. I'm so sorry.
Well, you know, I don't know. Okay, first of all, yes. Second of all, I don't think we talked about this in the last episode. If you're going to blatantly rip off Star Wars because this is a Star Wars sequel, wouldn't you try to not name it identically to the thing you're ripping off?
Oh, he didn't, Garrett. This is the Imperium. That was the Empire.
Right.
These are the men in these, the soldiers here are stormtroopers, you see.
that part's not in there. That's just a bridge too far. But you get what I mean. Like, okay, obviously I'm going to have an empire. Can't call it the Empire. Imperium? Excellent. No one will ever see through that. Like, call it anything else. You made up a bunch of gleep-glop nonsense for the rest of this Scargiver and Arthurlaeus or whatever the fuck. Call them the Jiminy group. It doesn't matter. My point remains the same. Like, if you're going to steal, at least try to cover up what you're taking.
Absolutely not. This is Zack Snyder. Also, Atticus has all his teeth. I know I mentioned that last time, but all of his teeth were knocked out at the end of the movie.
That's why they had to get all that blue light in there.
Oh, I see. I see.
Regrows teeth.
Interesting. And also, Garrett, this brings me to the subtitle for this movie, right? A Child of Fire. That's not in the last movie. I would argue that it's never explained why Cora, aka Athelius, is called the Scargiver. Like, she gave Atticus a chest scar in the previous movie, but that took place 3 days ago, and that nickname clearly precedes that. I don't think they ever give the name.
It's because of that scar.
No, it's not.
No, I'm agreeing with you. It's not because of, you were saying I don't think, and then you stopped talking. I don't think it's because of that scar. I think it, now, devil's advocate, we see her give a scar, so we can safe to assume, and he calls her the scar giver, so maybe that's just her thing. She's just scarring people up left, right, and center. We just don't see it.
Well, then they should...
Film's not really a visual medium, Tim. You have to kind of do the work yourself. Those are always the best movies, where you have to write the pieces no one shows you.
I cannot wait for that R-rated version to not feature a goddamn chalice of blood. I'm going to be so angry.
Spoiler alert, it won't.
We cut to glamour shots of wheat fields and a waterfall that makes absolutely no sense. There's this isolated mountain. It's a single mountain right next to the village, and somehow there's this giant waterfall coming off of it as if there's a giant spring. Is this a water volcano, Garrett? Is it constantly raining on top of the mountain?
Yes. Maybe there's a natural spring under the ground and it's just slowly working its way up.
Not slowly, Garrett. That's a gigantic goddamn waterfall.
Yeah, it's weird. I didn't really notice, but you're right. Where would that be coming from? I noticed that, first of of all, our buddy Sam and the good soldier Eris from the first movie are now buds, and we get to see the space radio that Tim was so focused on in the last episode. It does exist. And Eris is there repeatedly saying, all good here, guys, nothing to worry about, and definitely no need to talk to anyone but me ever.
Yes. Now, listen, it kind of makes sense, right? The radio is this it's not a radio, it's an overly complicated glass tube video chat thing, and it starts off with a pyramid.
It's a hologram thing, just like Star Wars. What does Star Wars call it?
Within a weird glass tube.
Yeah, a little bit.
And
a little bit of a tube.
So as you're saying, Eris is pretending all the soldiers are still alive. There are no questions from the Dreadnought commander. I guess what we're intended to believe is that these soldiers are always out raping. So they're just too busy to come to the phone.
Well, I mean, you called it last time. Maybe each division, they group people with similar likes, interests together. So they're like, yeah, of course, they're just always out there doing truly horrible things. Boy, I had to bleep the word rape so many times in the last episode. It was outrageous. I mean, it's a big part of the first movie. Some would say the inciting moment. That's okay. Basically, this radio call is the inciting incident of this movie. So
that's true.
Why not it's a step in the right direction, if you ask me.
Yeah, no, we learned they have 5 days to get the harvest ready, aka 5 days before the Dreadnought will arrive. And I
had a real problem with this.
Absolutely. Why have the timetable, Garrett? It is needless. It's an insane self-imposed limitation. And we'll see why later. But Zacchaeus could have just said, alien grain takes 6 months to grow and harvest, so they're going to give you 6 months and then be back, right? And then we wouldn't have had to deal with any of this. The events of this movie might be even kind of possible. But no, 5 days.
Okay, I will meet Zach in the middle. You have to have some sort of obstacle here, right? So they're going to come in a shorter amount of time than you would prefer in order to prepare for an invasion. But you and I were definitely feeling the same thing where I was like, 5 days? You might as well just say tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's useless. You could have said 1 month.
Yeah.
I could at least get on board with within a month, you could maybe harvest a bunch of grain and teach some of these people how to fight. But 5 days? Try to do anything with a group of 5 or more people in 5 days and see just how little you get done.
Yeah. And we'll get into exactly what they spend this 5 days doing, because I feel like they'd be worse off when they finish than when they start, but that's okay.
Yeah, they squandered it.
Yeah, so Farmer Den and the weird old man that Korra lives with welcome the 7 samurais who have come to be paid for their service in defense of the village, but I don't think these farmers seem to have any money.
No.
I don't know where that is, but yeah, so it has been less than 10 weeks. Eris is painting the inside of a barn. It feels like this community is hazing them. It's a weird thing that doesn't need to be done. And Jimmy the robot / the last member of a race of mechanical knights watches over the village, but I guess has not interacted with them or helped them in any way. And he now has a cape or cloak and this unexpected walking stick, which seems unnecessary for a robot. And of course, the antlers.
Sure. Antlers are still in full effect. Just a quick cut to him, just a glimpse to remind you that he's not in the movie.
Yeah. The villagers have a huge feast laid out for the 7 samurai in the longhouse. This is something they did when they definitely should have been farming. They are on a pretty strict timetable, but none of the farmers show up because I guess they're embarrassed that they had to ask for help from the 7 samurai.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
And Korra goes ahead and just announces, we definitely killed Atticus Noble. Everything's fine. And as Garrett said, Imperial protocol, they have to return to the Mother World and they are forbidden from seeking revenge. We're done.
What's great is the conclusion that the group comes to is not, maybe Atticus isn't dead. It's literally Jim Hansu going, they must really need this grain. You're just like, no, dude, it's not about the chill with the goddamn grain. They're coming to kill you.
Garrett, they're kind of coming for the grain, though.
They also very much need that grain.
Yeah.
But you would still think, the first thing you'd think is, maybe I didn't kill him. Maybe they used all of their weird Imperium technology to, revive this dude.
Yeah, maybe he's got some sort of weird chest port. Yeah, because Eris bursts in at that moment and is like, hey, just talk to him. Dreadnought's coming back in 5 days, and rightfully freaks everyone out. And as you said, the genius battlefield commander, General Titus, says that they must really need the grain. It's all about the grain. And then the villagers gather, and the genius General Titus tells them they're going to train them to kill all the trained soldiers, but first they must harvest the grain because that is their biggest weapon. The Empire really needs the grain. If they just keep the grain close to them, the dreadnought can't nuke them from space because of the grain. You see,
Right.
grain.
Wheat.
They must harvest the grain. This takes, I couldn't tell exactly based on their phrasing. They said half a cycle, but it's
It takes a long ass time.
half a month, half a year, something like that. But they're going to harvest it in 3 days, which is going to make them unusually exhausted from excess work. And then the next 2 days, they're going to learn all the skills it's going to take to defeat a goddamn army.
Right. A world-conquering army.
Absolutely. Also, what have they been doing this whole time? Like,
I do not know.
they were unaware, apparently, that the 7 samurai were sort of victorious in the first movie.
What was their plan?
I don't know.
If they had come back and just done the thing they all thought they were going to do, is like, hey, we're going to come fight with you, not for you.
Right,
You guys were going to stay
exactly.
in the house the whole time?
Yeah, or just farm a bit in the meantime, just in case you need some of that grain.
Well, I think it was just the harvesting. I think they'd been farming, but you can't make it grow faster.
This is space, Garrett.
That can't be your rebuttal to everything I say to you.
That's fair.
Okay, now we get a quick bang and a backstory.
Well, no. First, Garrett, they get to take the night off because we are not in a hurry, right?
Oh, right.
So yes, this is where the banging happens.
Yeah, so they take a night off. We get a quick bang, which we see none of, shocking me.
I assume the R-rated version is going to show it.
Fully penetrative.
In slow-mo, yes.
A real Liam Neeson film. Not Neeson. A real Willem Dafoe classic.
Or a 9 songs.
That was just pornography. I'm talking about a Lars von Trier piece of art. Anyway, so Cora and Gunnar do in fact bang, or at least that's what they allude to. We don't see it. And he talks about being afraid, and she talks about wanting to bang. That's when we get a flashback post-coitus. It's the coronation of a new ship by the royal family, and 2 big shockers here. One, Issa, the princess, the magical princess, is going to help coronate this ship, the last ship of the royal fleet. Tim, did you notice that the king is holding the bone? The big brass bone thing. Yeah, big femur.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently Atticus stole that from the king.
But was Atticus there?
No. It must have been a gift from Belisarius.
Oh, okay.
Also, I'm getting ahead of myself, but where's Belisarius?
What do you mean?
Where is he in the movie? I thought he's the bad guy.
Oh no, Garrett, he's the he's coming later. Don't worry. There's 4 more movies in this.
God.
You've got to have a big bad, Garrett, and this guy is a great actor, so it makes sense to keep him throughout all of them, so you get a little bit of Belisarius the whole time.
He's a terrible actor.
Yeah.
He is hands down. I actually think, Tim, that they realized it, and they were like, hey, we're going to cut a lot of this guy's scenes because he is terrible. Zach, you need to rewrite the next 4 or change them however you've got them planned so that this guy dies. He sucks. Anyway, that aside, we get this flashback that we're going to spend some time with because so much is revealed and so many weird things happen that it might be my favorite scene of the movie.
It's so insane. It's maybe one of the worst scenes I've ever seen.
Okay, let me set the stage and then we'll get into the details because holy shit. What we're seeing the royal family emerge for the coronation of this ship. It's the king, the queen, and their childlike empress.
Yes. And to be clear, they apparently, based on everyone's reactions that this is completely normal, they apparently always coronate these ships in the engine room or something. Because he seems confused that the furnaces aren't lit. And that, of course, sounds like a metaphor, but just you fucking wait. You fucking wait. We will get there. Jesus. So they pop up here and apparently at every one of these, because again, nobody acts surprised like any of this is unusual. There's a string quartet playing with what I can only imagine the Zodiac killer made his victims wear as he murdered them. They're these fucking black hoods that have a crying eye painted on them in gold.
Yep, that's accurate.
But apparently they can see through them because they alter their music to fit what's happening in the scene.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out, were they breaking the fourth wall or was I?
I don't know.
Just legally, what happened there? Because they were playing music. Well, let's get back to them in a minute. You've set the scene beautifully. Other people in the room. Belisarius, surrounded by, and this is important, the Senate.
Yes, it is important.
I paused the movie about 30 seconds from now and did some Googling. Anyway, so you got the string quartet, you got the royal family entering, you've got Belisarius surrounded by the senators of the Senate. And Cary Elwes is like, this isn't right. This isn't right at all. And
this room should be much hotter. The furnaces should be burning. That's how we do this in the bowels of the ship.
And out of nowhere, the coup to murder the royal family begins. And before it begins, keep in mind, folks, this is post-coitus, Gunnar and Cora lying in each other's nude, sweaty arms. She's telling him this story, and she mentions, like, I knew it was coming, and I totally went on board. So she knew the assassination was coming because Belisarius, her father, adopted, had planned it. So the part that I want to start with is how they kill the king and queen. Knives.
Oh, yeah.
All being pulled from the lapels of the senators in a circle. Not an homage, not similar, not a interpolation, but precisely in the way it is done in the play Julius Caesar.
What do you think the likelihood is that there is a cut scene that has the line "Et tu Belisarius" in it?
They definitely shot it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be in the R-rated cut.
Honestly, if it is, half a star added. Lean into it, Zach. This is a bad movie. You've failed. At least make it funny.
Yeah. And here's the thing. The king arrives with a bunch of guards, right?
Yes.
They
are
guns.
not good guards.
And these guys have knives.
I don't remember the scene. I should, because I saw it several times, but do they even fight back?
I don't think so, but
I think they're in on it.
Maybe. I don't know.
So
yeah, it could be. Okay,
let's get back to the quartet for a minute. As the king and queen are being slow-mo murdered, and I have not been nearly as diligent with my slow-mo, but that's okay. I will be in a minute. As the king and queen are being slow-mo murdered, a la Caesar, just identical. Identical.
Yeah, it's very frustrating.
I'm not sure exactly what pisses me off about it, aside from does he not know that if you do it shot for shot, it's not an homage, it's just stealing?
I think anyway. I'm just angry about it because he thinks this is a smart movie.
It's the Dan Brown of movies.
Yeah.
God. Anyway, back to the quartet. As Tim mentioned, when the events of the room change, the quartet's music changes, implying that they are the score for the film and the room. And I don't know what to make of that.
Yes. It's bizarre.
What is that?
It's as if Belisarius just has these guys around, they follow him everywhere and they just score what he does. Because otherwise...
Or they score his murders.
Yeah, well, fair enough. But if you're a violin player and you get a gig at any emperor's assassination, and again, I do believe that they were in on it because they seem to...
Yeah,
they didn't seem surprised. They didn't miss a note.
No one removed their weird black hood with a gold crying eye on it.
If you're hired for this gig, call in sick. A tip to some of our younger listeners, they're gonna fucking kill you. You're a witness.
Yeah, they're not gonna leave witnesses. Yeah. Yes, I spent 2 years with the Boston Pops. I guess I also worked the King's assassination. That was really difficult. A lot harder than I planned. They really killed him. Anyway, yikes. Yeah, that doesn't happen. Let's see. Let's continue. So as Tim mentioned, everybody gets stabbed, and it comes down to Cora holding a gun to a little girl's head or chest. One of the two.
Yes. It's her turn to kill the princess, who she knows by this point to be literal magic. This is the Jesus of this world. So she hesitates, and then Belisarius hisses in this weird Irish accent that kind of sounds pained. He's like, do it, kill her.
It's really bad.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is because he's Scottish, right?
He is, but this is Irish.
It's bad. But yeah, and you hear the senators too. They're all going, do it.
And why? I don't understand.
I don't know. They all have knives. And so eventually she does. But before she does, did you say what the princess says?
I did not.
Oh, what does the princess say?
The princess says that she forgives Cora.
I forgive you.
And right. And so then Cora murders a child. The hero of this movie in cold blood murders a child.
That's actually literally what my notes say.
Yeah.
It says, wait, the hero of this movie and the last movie is a child murderer.
Right. And
that's not okay.
Garrett, as the child is shot, the goddamn biblical Holy Spirit emerges from her chest and kind of floats there. And here's the thing. I believe people in the room can see this, but nobody seems to think that this is odd. And other a lot of other people have died at this point. No one else has a fucking legitimate force ghost inside of them. Like, there's a visible glowing soul present. Why does nobody like just be like, holy shit? Anyone else? You guys all...
It looks like a beanstalk of light to heaven coming out of her chest wound, her gaping chest wound.
Yes, the 10-year-old child that the hero of the movie has killed in cold blood.
And
I
then,
feel like this is okay. This though is something like you can't really recover from, right? This is the Anakin Skywalker murdering all the children. Like you can't then have the next scene have him be Luke Skywalker in the next movie. Like it's, at this point,
irredeemable.
Yes,
and then in maybe the best part of the movie, at least the most entertaining for me, as soon as that princess is dead, everyone in the room, spurred by Belisarius, says, "Murderer, kill her! You've killed her! You killed the family! Get the assassin!"
Yes.
Which is pretty funny.
But I see what he's going for here. Like, they're going to blame her alone, obviously.
Sure.
But, like, I mean, Belisarius screams, "What have you done?" Everyone knows.
Yeah, no,
Everybody
it's real
knows.
weird.
They don't need to pretend. They're all aware. Like, I don't understand who is being gaslit here exactly. Like, is it the band? Is the band going to be the witnesses?
It's like when Batman does his voice, but no one's there. Who's this for?
Yeah. And, okay, but here's, I think, my favorite part of this movie. My favorite line in this movie, Garrett. Belisarius calls his adopted daughter, and this is true, this is a direct quote, an outworlder and a cancer of ethnic impurity. That's some
Fox News Nation, baby.
Jesus Christ with the Nazi shit, dude. Like,
yeah, what's the deal with that?
It's too blatant. And it gets worse. It gets way worse, actually, in this movie. That's actually not the most upsetting, like, Nazi imagery that they've stolen.
No, Ed Screen's face is the most upsetting Nazi imagery. I thought we covered that.
That's fair. I heard somebody on the interwebs refer to him. It's he has a Dumb and Dumber haircut or Dumb and Dumber bangs, and I cannot unsee that.
Yeah, he's got a bowl cut.
Yeah, but it's unclear why they don't just kill her at this point. Just be like, yeah, she's the assassin. They try to arrest her, and that's not a good plan.
Yeah, and to make matters worse, she just shot a child in the chest, causing her force ghost to fly away. But then she has the chance to kill Belisarius, and she chooses not to.
Right, she is not a hero,
a good person,
in any sense. Yeah.
All right. But she escapes, of course, somehow.
Well, she makes a daring escape that doesn't look hard at all. All these soldiers like run in and they just stand there while she shoots them. And she steals Belisarius's shuttle while he just kind of watches her. So they're both just not doing what they should be doing.
Sure.
And she says, it's also unclear why they don't just shoot the ship out of the sky at this point.
Yeah, I assumed that like it was hard or something. I don't know. Doesn't matter.
She says the only way to honor her murder victim is to escape, to run away and not get caught. That's how she's going to honor the girl, the child that she just murdered. The good guy of this movie.
I feel like she'd want me to live a free, full life.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
He murdered her.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. I just want to say, like, conclusively, though, right? She is the bad guy. She killed Jesus.
Atticus Noble's not great either.
Well, no, but I kind of
he's more forgivable than her because he's working within the confines of what he knows about the situation. Like, as far as he's concerned,
she goes a little overboard.
Well, yeah, everybody's going a little overboard. Yeah. But what I mean is, as far as he's concerned, she did kill the entire royal family.
Right. Yeah. And she is, it's a little weird that he was apparently gifted the bone.
Yeah.
Which makes me think maybe he knows a little something. But
you know what? Yeah, I'm sure he does. But you know what we didn't mention is that when Cora has the gun to the little girl's chest before she pulls the trigger, as Belisarius is going, "Do it! Kill her!" Carrie Elwes is still alive, and his head is like in Belisarius's lap. And he's just like, "No! No, don't! Please don't!" And it goes on for like a good 30 seconds. You're just like, did they just tell him to vamp? Like, let's maybe write some lines for him. Yeah. Or just kill him.
Also, I don't remember, because I did not write this down. Is there like the equivalent of pearls dropping? Like, I feel like I remember the Queen's necklace or something. It's something to that effect, but
it couldn't have been too blatant. Otherwise, it would definitely be in both of our notes because we were looking for some dropping pearls. pedophiles. We're always looking. Anyway.
But yeah, this movie is going to paint her as the victim. And like you said, it's entirely possible that Atticus believes that he's hunting her for good reason. But even if he doesn't, even if he knows, everyone else on that ship is more righteous than she is because they do believe that.
And she mercilessly murders hundreds of them.
Yeah, and you know what? Here's the thing. Even if Atticus does know the whole story, he should still be bringing her in for that crucifixion.
Sure. Well, hold on. Huh?
At the end of the first movie, Belisarius says he wants her back alive for the crucifixion.
Oh, I missed that. Interesting. I'm glad that didn't happen.
I disagree.
I mean, we allegedly have 4 more, so we'll see. Okay, we got to keep moving, Tim.
Hold on.
There's a lot of movie to go.
4 more movies, someone's getting crucified. Yes. So, okay, we cut back to the present on Velt. It's dawn, although the lighting conditions suggest it's like 9 a.m.
Sure.
The old guy rings a bell to wake the 7 samurai up to begin their 3 days of farming. And that's what I thought at first, but the heroes walk out the fields followed by all the farmers who seem very tired, and I feel like they should be used to this.
Well, I think this is like even aggressive for them.
At dawn, they're farmers, Garrett. That's what time they're supposed to wake up. Farmers, right in. If you're listening to this on your tractor, you're not as cool as a cowboy. You're on the same side, sure, but right in. Let us know what time you waking up.
Right. Tim, did you notice any of the original music for this movie?
I looked up the guy that did the score for this.
Oh, score is fine. I'm talking about the original lyrics, the original songs with lyrics written for this movie.
No.
Oh, God. So I was watching this movie mostly with subtitles the first time through, just in case it helps me to write down like when I hear a new name. And so all the song lyrics are appearing at the bottom of the screen. And the music itself is fucking weird as they're farming. But you get lyrics like, I hear my homeland cry underneath the gloaming sky. But it's all like some folksy Irish lady.
Hot.
Yeah, something like that. All right, so let's get to the farming. Everybody gets out there. There's a nice wheat slow-mo as a hand is bowing down to grace it through the blowing wisps. And then we get slow-mo of bugs and wheat thrashing and bundling and more slow-mo sexy glances between Eris and Sam. It's a farming montage.
Yes, there's scything, there's busheling, there's wind blowing. The whole thing, this is what I like about Zack Snyder. He really made it feel like it went on for 3 full days.
Yeah, I really felt the monotony of the harvest.
Yes. And I don't understand why the 7 samurai are helping in this. They're not used to farming. And I don't know if you've ever farmed, Garrett, but after 3 days of farming, if you're not used to it, you're going to be too exhausted to train or fight.
I've ranched. I've not farmed, but I imagine they're both very taxing.
Yeah. We cut back to the Dreadnought. We get this nice exterior shot where it flies past a black hole that looks exactly like Chris Nolan's Interstellar, or subsequently actual physics. And unlike Chris Nolan's Interstellar, though, this black hole does not affect its environment in any way. The Dreadnought flies past it much too closely, and Atticus Noble is very pissed off. He wants out of that med bay. He is shrieking at the mechanical witch doctors. For some reason, he's wearing a toga. I guess this is like their version of like the little paper...
Oh, the paper gown?
Thing. Yeah. He throws one of the witch doctors to the ground and shoots him, which is the universal sign he's good to go. He's ready to be in charge again. And he says that he likes the chest scar he got from the Scargiver. Again, no idea why she was called that before this particular scar.
Dude, he gives the weirdest, like, I can only equate it to if you're hanging out with a good friend who maybe got a little too drunk or whatever and just says something and then you're like, oh, what, buddy? Maybe I don't think you meant to say that out loud. Because he says he wants to keep the scar so that when Cora's body is on display in the Senate Rotunda,
I believe that's when she's being crucified.
In any event, he wants to walk up to this scene, open his shirt, and expose the scar given to him by the Scargiver in his pursuit of justice.
Yes.
What is this guy envisioning? What are you going to do? I'm picturing a guy just like opening his shirt, eyes closed, head to the skies, just, you're welcome. What's this guy doing?
Yeah. Then we cut
Scargiver!
Scargiver. Then we cut to more harvesting slow-mo glamour shots. We really need to fill out this 2-hour runtime.
Allergies are acting up just watching this slow-mo hay. They treat it like it's a pillow fight, and it's disgusting. You can see it in the air. It's all over their hair and their face, and they're just like, oh, This is so fun. My eyes are on fire just looking at that.
These are filthy people.
I took a second Zyrtec just watching it.
Kids are running around playing. One brave boy wants to play with Nemesis / tickle her nose with wheat, but she's too strong and silent, and she grabs the wheat away from him, and he runs back to his friends, but she kind of respects him a little.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The genius General Titus is a fake drunk like your good buddy. He is filling his flask with water secretly.
Mm-hmm.
The farming continues, as do the farming glamour shots and the slow-mo. I don't know what percentage of time do you think Scargiver was actually on set? Do you think he is the one that's so obsessed with his goddamn wheat?
I think so. I think that man loves wheat. Now, I have a controversial question for you. After having viewed this film multiple times and the glorification of wheat and farming and the collective, is this communist propaganda?
It could be. I mean,
it closely resembles communist propaganda.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen multiple posters of people harvesting wheat with a sickle for the good of the group, fighting the proletariat.
Covered one of the David Beckham posters up one time with that, but... I'm not going to be swayed. Yeah, no, listen, I'm not going to fucking work for free for you just because you covered my goddamn your poster on your side of the room.
It is not my poster just because it's on my side. Anyway, we can't...
That's how room sides work. We cut back to the Dreadnought. They're getting a video chat from the one remaining soldier who is saying that his South African comrades have been successful with the pacification / raping, but they can't come to the phone right now, because they're, again, Marcus is, him. He's too busy raping people. You knew this when you hired him. You can't be mad now.
Yeah, he puts it right on Front Street.
Yeah.
There's no like, oh, wait a minute. No, it's on his resume.
Yeah. Noble is the only person to notice. He's obviously lying, and of course they're all dead.
Yeah.
What the fuck's wrong with the rest of you?
They're very bad soldiers.
Yes. Back to the village, of course, some more slow-mo glamour shots. This time in a barn, but they're still doing like grain stuff. They're
basically
sorting
they move it all. I'm not super clear how wheat becomes grain. I think you thrash it, which is to say you beat it. You beat the grain out of it. Farmer's right in. I don't know. Anyway, so after 3 whole days in the village, everybody loves them, and Sam made what I thought were tea towels, and we'll later learn are little flags.
Is it Sam? I thought that was a different person.
Oh, maybe. I think
it's different. I think it's a different person.
Other blonde woman.
Yes. Yeah, so we get this huge feast and party that I cannot stress enough. We do not have time for. There's a goddamn dreadnought coming. Nobody is taking this seriously enough. But yes, they've made these personalized blankets or tunics or whatever. They have a lot of really accurate personal insight into the psyche of these
strangers.
Yeah. Nemesis looks uncomfortable, and I have to say, Sam or whoever the person is that's handing these out is by far the most productive member of this group.
Yes.
I feel like she should be the one farming. They could have been done like weeks ago with her.
Yeah, she got a lot done. And I think they're supposed to be like little flags because you see them hung up later on lines.
Yeah, it's almost like she has designed each one of them like a family crest kind of thing, essentially. And then everything stops for General Titus to do a weird song that makes it very clear that his character grew up in a very primitive, remote village in space Ethiopia.
It's really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And not just for the people in the movie, but also for those of us at home watching it, because I feel bad for Jim and Hansu.
The genius General Titus.
Sure. Because this just doesn't land.
No. You know who it does land for, though, Garrett, is Jimmy the robot, who sits on a mountain watching over the festivities, silently wishing that he too was programmed for fun.
Yes, well, you have to understand, Tim, robots, notoriously terrible taste in music.
Absolutely, but he's wistful, Garrett. Why does Zack Snyder not understand at all what a robot is?
He's rethinking what a robot can be.
Oh, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself.
All right, let's move on. We need to learn how to fight in 2-ish days.
Yes.
And here's the part that confused the shit out of me. After they moved all that grain into the barn, they then, the very next day, were like, all right, first, let's get all the grain into the village.
Well, absolutely.
Just start there.
Absolutely, Garrett. It's their biggest weapon. The Empire honestly needs the goddamn grain.
Yeah, so let's just take that for granted. They needed the grain. I think they could have saved a lot of effort if they just discussed that the day before. Could have blended the farming and the fighting, but whatever.
Yes. Yeah, and they're going to train on weapons, two kinds of weapons. One, the knives, hatchets, and hunting rifles that are like flintlock rifles that shoot lasers that they already had.
Yep.
And the other, Garrett, they train on weapons left by the soldiers they killed like it's Afghanistan in the 80s or 2020s. Yeah. But these soldiers, for the like 7 soldiers that came, brought hundreds of rifles and grenades.
I don't know what they were planning.
Rocket launchers and some sort of murder bot that can't kill. All of this to pacify 30 farmers.
Yeah, very confused what they thought might happen. And if there was a part of the movie that legitimately like kind of pissed me off, it was every single person that we see pick up a gun for presumably the first time is a crack shot.
Absolutely. They're great at sword fighting too.
That I could at least maybe chalk up to like sweet scythe skills, but, or, you know, crazy sickle skills. I'm going to leave that joke aside. But guns are a very specific thing. As a man who has occasionally shot real guns, if you don't do it frequently, it's rather difficult.
Yes, and it's not difficult for you because you do it very frequently.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You have that warehouse in Brooklyn where you can rearrange the room so it's always different.
Sure. What's that have to do with guns?
It's for shooting in there, Garrett. You set up all this. It doesn't matter. They also managed to dig an insane network of tunnels. Insane, Garrett.
It gets revealed later that most of that time that they were learning to fight, they were actually digging tunnels.
And yeah, it's like Vietnam in the 60s or Brooklyn earlier this year. And Garrett, but they make a point of showing that these tunnels are dug by the single bucket. It's at approximately the pace of the tunnel in Shawshank. He makes a specific point of showing that.
Oh, sure. But you're not to extrapolate.
Here's what I think. I think a day on this moon is hundreds or possibly even thousands of our Earth hours. Is that possible?
They had 6 months to work on this, but it was 2 days by their time.
Yes. The moon just turns very slowly.
And they don't get tired.
Yes.
They've adjusted to it.
Absolutely. Also in these 2 days, Garrett, they go on an expedition like across the moon, it seems like hundreds of miles on horseback to retrieve, pulling out with horses and repair the ship that Coral landed on.
Which works pretty much perfectly right out of the gate.
Yeah. And Jimmy the robot just kind of watches all of this without helping. That guy is fucking useless.
He's trying to figure himself out, Tim. Can't rush that.
That's fair. We learn also that Cora's been here for 2 seasons, which I don't know, again, half a year, maybe 2 years, I don't know.
10,000 days, we don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, next comes very confusing scene. The truth dinner?
Yeah. Okay, right, because they're going to reintroduce themselves essentially for the 7th time by my count.
Right. Yeah, all through, once again, excessive flashbacks. This might have the most number of flashbacks of any movie I've ever seen.
Yes.
John McTiernan's Basic has a lot of flashbacks, if I recall. But this, I think, might beat it. It's not. It makes no sense. And I don't mean like, why did they make this makes no sense. I mean, the logic of the film equals question mark.
Like this one. We first get the great General Titus, who has the idea for the history breakfast, the
truth dinner.
Truth dinner. Yeah, that's fair. His backstory, he was sent to keep a planet from voting for independence, but they voted for independence anyway. So he blew up their capital. Again, he is the bad guy.
Well, he refused to blow up their capital.
Okay, so maybe, yes. So he has a change of heart.
Yes.
And so a different set of soldiers blows up the capital and also captures all of his men.
Yeah, his men were super loyal. And so when he turned rebel, they stuck with him. And he was like, look, I'll surrender, just don't kill my men.
Right.
Like, of course. Yes. That's super reasonable.
And instead, they put all of his men in those eyed teardrop execution hoods that the string quartet was wearing. I don't understand what these are for now. This is much more confusing.
Yeah, it only muddies the waters. And then does, in fact, kill all of them.
Yes, but so the way they kill them is they all stand there as if they're going to be shot, you know, in a way that like would sort of make sense. But instead, they just nuke them from orbit.
Yes.
Like 30 feet from the genius General Titus?
Yes.
And he is fine.
Well, they promised not to.
Well, sure.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, he's basically got a front row seat to their demise with space lasers and doesn't even flinch.
Yes, he's fine. And then they just kind of let him go. Like, he doesn't like...
Yeah, that part's very unclear. How does he end up on a gladiator planet completely free but constantly drunk?
Yes. Well, none of the things that happen after these stories, like, it's very...
Or were written.
The one remaining soldier from the Blood Axe army, this girl that I believe...
Milius.
what is it? Milius?
Milius.
Okay.
Yeah.
Milius, she grew up in the exact situation the village is in, and her people were sent to literal Nazi concentration camps across the universe, except, of course, for the elderly, the sick, the space gypsies, and the space Jews that run the intergalactic banks. Those people were gassed. And
God.
Garrett, it's not worse than what he does.
I don't know. That last sentence was pretty rough.
Garrett, this is insane. Like, not only is he using blatant Nazi imagery, but he's just appropriating the goddamn Holocaust for his stupid Star Wars ripoff.
Listen, I'll admit, it felt a little tasteless.
This is so much worse than that time Gwendolyn Stefani did that, It's Beyond Martin Luther. Upgrade, computer. What if Picasso only used one color, Garrett?
A question no one's ever asked.
Yeah. But yeah, this lady is rescued by the Blood Axe Army. She becomes a soldier as a result. She looks weirdly so much better as a POW than she does as a soldier. I don't know if that was an intentional choice, but
I was like, oh, maybe she's just been like hardened by battle. But yeah, she didn't look good.
Yeah. And then, Garrett, we get to Nemesis. Oh my God. This story's amazing. Okay.
I had to rewind this in real time. Like I was watching it and then I was like, wait, what did she do?
I'm going to try and explain it because I think I've got to handle it. So her peaceful fishing village gets slaughtered by the Imperium. And as it's in ashes, apparently everyone else is killed. It's burning actively. She reaches under her bed and pulls out this insane box. Garrett, this box contains 2 swords, but also 2 robot hands. So
yeah, this is the part that I got confused about.
She takes the swords and cuts off both of her hands and then attaches the robot hands. So I assume she cut off one hand.
Yeah.
And then while that was hemorrhaging horribly, she surgically attaches the robot hand to the stump and then repeats that process. I like to think that she somehow cut off both hands and then looked at the stumps.
Shit.
Yeah. But okay, either way, doesn't matter.
No.
She's got the one hand cut off. She's got the sword handle in her mouth and she's slowly sawing off the second hand. Yeah. No, or maybe she does it this way. Maybe she stabs the sword into the ground and then she slings one arm against it and then slings the other arm against it and then does surgery with her teeth and toes.
Yeah, just does them both really fast through the blade so that you can get it over with, rip that Band-Aid off, so to speak.
Makes sense. Because here's the thing. If you cut one arm off and then perform surgery on yourself to reattach a robot arm, you're probably not going to have the balls to do that again.
It's going to be super hard to get psyched for the second one.
That 127 hours guy, if he had slipped a second time on his way out of the canyon. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, that would have been incredible.
Garrett, her blood reawakens ghosts that live in these robot hands, and they make her great at lightsaber fighting. I'm not making any of this up.
She is not.
And that somehow also then translates to the rest of her knowing how to fight.
That part you just assume.
I think she might be possessed, or possibly she is trained by the ghosts or trained by the robot hands.
They literally say so that the robot hands of her ancestors could teach her to fight.
She's trained by ghost hands.
That's how I read it.
Yeah.
So take from that what you will.
Okay, on to Tarek, Garrett. On to Tarek.
I think it's Turok.
It's not. I wish it was. God, I wish it was. So he is the son of a king and queen, and unfortunately, shamefully, he wears clothes at home, covering up those rockin' abs, and also a giant white falcon follows him around as his bodyguard, I believe.
Yeah, we learn the origin of Turok's love of bird griffins.
Well, but that makes it more confusing, Garrett, because that means the bird creatures are native to his home planet.
But no, not necessarily.
I think so.
Probably, though.
But it makes that implication, to me anyway, because they don't seem like they're native to the planet they find him on, which is this weird desert slave planet.
Maybe those things are like bullfrogs, and you take them anywhere, and they just goddamn populate all over the fucking place.
Possibly.
They're pests.
Okay.
They're giant hawks.
They giant
sky birds that hunt man, and they are also pests.
That does seem like a pest to me. Tarek's dad does not want to join the Imperium. He doesn't want his planet to join the Imperium. So he goes in person to present terms to the Motherworld, and they send him back dead. And then they invade, which goes pretty easily. His mom kills herself by jumping jumping off a balcony in front of him? I don't...
To preserve the purity of the bloodline, I believe is what they said.
Well, that doesn't make sense.
Follow.
I assume, I'm just going to... because they talk about purity of the bloodline, I assume she knows these soldiers are rapists.
Yeah, no, she knows the Imperium's MO.
Yes. And then he is smuggled away looking like a Victorian-era gentleman.
Yes.
At some point, he becomes a warrior and is then enslaved.
Yeah, that part was not super clear. Yada yada warrior.
Yada yada warrior, yada yada enslaved by a guy that looks like Wilford Brimley.
Yada yada fuck shirts.
Yeah, well, I mean, after you become a warrior, I assume those abs are natural.
Then we get to the funniest person. Because, well, basically gets to Cora and she says nothing.
Yeah,
and so,
pass.
Yeah, basically. And, or almost even more suspiciously, oh, I wish I had an interesting story like you guys. But I definitely do not. And Titus, in a very subtle turn of events, goes, are you sure there's nothing you want to get off your chest?
Now, okay, when you say Titus, do you mean the genius General Titus?
I am starting to see what you're doing. And I'm not sure I'm going to tolerate it a lot longer.
I can change it to the genius battlefield commander, General Titus, if you'd like.
I would.
I'm out.
Now I feel like you're going to not do it. Yeah. So after General Titus hits him with I think you should leave. Are you sure? Like 6 times in a row, Cora's like, yeah, I'm fucking sure. Now shut up. Gunner picking up on the fact that she doesn't want to talk about that time she shot a child in the chest, let alone the king's daughter. He's like, I just want to say thank you guys for doing this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'd be fucked.
And she outs him for not being an alcoholic?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. She walks over and she's just like, I mean, I don't have any secrets. If anybody has secrets, it's you non-drinking bastard.
You Gonna probably have to bleep that. Yeah, no, but again, the reason she doesn't tell her story is because she killed a child and ruined the chance for there to be peace in the universe.
Yeah, she deserves to die.
Crucified, I believe. Anyway, so they pack the grain around the village because the Imperium would never risk the grain. They, because they need that to feed a vanishingly small fraction of their army a single lunch.
Right.
So their plan is that the genius battlefield commander General Titus has a plan where they're going to kidnap whoever they send down to collect the grain and then negotiate, after which they will give them the grain, securing a promise that they will not be blown up from space.
Yeah.
Is it possible that everyone is being sarcastic by calling him a genius? Maybe this is like a K-way sort of genius.
I mean, that's certainly how it seems, because this plan sucks donkey balls.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to get worse.
Tim, we're at the halfway mark, right? This is the big crux. We've been preparing, we've been farming, we got our backstory.
Well,
Noble is ready to invade.
One more thing happens first. In the morning, Cora hides her transport ship behind the impossible waterfall, which has a goddamn bat cave behind it.
Not just a bat cave. I'm at like 40% sure it is exactly the scene from the end of The Dark Knight Rises with Robin.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And as she's parking this fucking thing there, Jimmy the robot is just creepily standing behind her. And when she turns around, he tells her about his emotions and hopes and fears, which robots definitely have, and also refers to himself as a member of something called the Mechanicus Militarium.
Which I'm into.
Yeah, I am too. I was going to say pretty stupid stuff, but I kind of respect that. Cora says the nightmare of the Imperium is these two fighting side by side, and he says they're going to lose and he's going to fuck right on off. And, and he's right. This would lose immediately.
Yeah.
The villagers finish setting charges through their El Chapo tunnel system right as the dreadnought appears. And then Noble uses their weird-ass radio to 3D image the village. And he admires the amazing setup the genius General Titus has come up with. Here's my problem with this 3D thing. Did you notice that a few minutes later, the women and children that the 3D surface imager thing imaged as being in the longhouse are herded into the longhouse?
Yeah. Yeah, it's bad editing.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think it 3D images the future.
We very may well. It's space, Things work different without gravity.
Absolutely. Yeah, the plan of the bad guys here is to sneak into the longhouse, kidnap all the children because they are evil.
Mm-hmm.
And also there's a bunch of shots at this point of the ship being like 45 feet off the surface of this planet.
Yep.
A bunch of ships apparently powered by diesel descend, given the amount of black smoke that pour out of these things.
I will say, I like this part. I like when the ships come down, and I like when they invade.
Yeah, it's a cool scene, right? Because it's a ridiculous overkill, which is exactly what this would be.
Oh, yeah. It's so one-sided.
Yes. And Admiral Atticus Noble, wearing what I now believe to be an actual vintage Nazi uniform, greets them, and I think he asks for another hug, because he gets out of this and he says, "Where's my warm embrace?"
Yeah, I don't think they get it, but I think he does ask for it. Oh no, he never gets that beer. I never got that beer.
Yeah, that's true. Cora,
this part where he opens his shirt?
Yes. A scar from the Scargiver herself.
Look what you've given me. Like, what? What? Okay, I remember. I would imagine you have several others.
Yeah, he does.
I threw you off a platform.
Yeah, how did you get your teeth back, you fuck?
Oh man, you got to move on from these teeth. I feel like I think it's just eating you alive.
I can't. Cora has cut her hair back to the military style for some reason.
Yeah, I didn't love that choice.
Yeah, well, I also maybe don't spend time on a haircut at this point in your life. Cora basically offers them the grain in their lives, which again seems like a great deal. They can just take the grain and nuke them from space after they got that precious grain. And
right?
Noble counters that offer by saying all that stuff plus she has to surrender for crucifixion later. And she's like, yeah, you know what? That sounds fair. I get it.
Yep.
I get it. I did murder that child and I kind of deserve this. Gunner, she goes back to hug him. He's like, they're obviously lying. And she's like, nah, it's fine. These are honorable, non-rapist people.
If I know anything about the Imperium, they keep their word.
Yes, no one ever betrays anybody.
Yeah, so as they're hugging, we learn that Gunner secretly stole Cora's gun from her, and as she is getting ready to go back with Atticus, and I just gotta ask, like, why the fuck did he come down there?
Well, he's the second lead of this movie by this point, Garrett. This is the fake Brad Cooper.
But typically, and I'm no army general or admiral as the case may be, but typically you send down your infantry forces, lay waste to the enemy, and then look upon your glory to preserve the more experienced and important minds of the battlefield.
He wanted that beer.
He's got a real drinking problem. He just wanted to get his eyes on that delicious grain.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right, anyway, so Gunner's stolen the gun, and as Cora goes to walk back onto the ship, surrendering herself, he shoots the big bell in the center of town, which is the signal to begin fighting.
It's on.
It's on. And I gotta say, it starts kind of awesome.
Yeah, these Vietnamese ground traps pop open. Guys pop out with rocket launchers and just start blowing the shit out of them.
That's a better name than what I had. I just called them hidey holes.
That works. Cora and Gunner fuck off to that waterfall ship because they have a plan that they didn't tell anyone else about.
Sure.
And Noble just casually drops into this tunnel doing this Superman landing and then just starts fucking people up, Garrett.
Dude, it's so weird. Like, the body language in the whole scene makes no sense. First, it's like he doesn't see the hole. He does. He does it on purpose. But the way he jumps down, he's completely rigid. It's like he's trying to do God, I don't remember what we used to call it when.
It's like he's trying to look cool, but for whomst?
Yeah, you know what it's like? It's like the dude from Grandma's Boy. I hate you all. God, what is that guy's name?
Oh yeah, the guy that pretends to be a robot.
Yeah, it's gonna be totally different when I have robot legs. It's basically that guy trying to look cool. He drops down completely stiff and then does, like, we have, not only is the superhero pose so outplayed, even making fun of the superhero pose has been done to death. And yet here comes Zack Snyder going, you guys are into this, right? We are not.
It's not going to be the last time.
God damn it, you're not wrong, because he's already put it in both movies.
It's not going to be the last time in this movie, Garrett.
God, are you right? I hope you're wrong. I don't remember.
You'll remember when I tell you. Anyway,
Fair.
Yeah, he just begins walking. These people like point guns at him and he just walks into them. They don't shoot him, and so he just beats the fuck out of them. And then we get to Den. Den's running around throwing bombs on departing ships. We get a fancy British, oh damn. There's a lot of slow-mo. It doesn't fucking matter.
Nope. The rocket guy gets all but one ship. It's pretty close. Then we get Nemesis, right?
Yes. Yeah. Soldiers break into the longhouse. Nemesis lightsaber fights people. And the regular soldiers they're losing, but they're doing pretty well for not being like Jedi.
Yeah, they're not like stormtroopers. They're not cannon fodder. They're legitimately fighting.
Yeah. Back to Noble, he calmly and coolly emerges from a tunnel and hops onto a transport. And then Den jumps on this transport and begins fighting him, but as we learned in the last movie, he's part cyborg, so he just starts taking punches like he's Superman. And
yeah, it doesn't go great.
Yeah, he slits Den's throat and hurls him out of the ship, and he lands with a bloodless splat.
I gotta say, if you're gonna throw me out of an airplane, do me the service of slitting my throat.
Yeah, but you're not dead yet.
What do you mean?
I don't think he's dead when he's thrown out of this plane.
I agree, but he does slit his throat when he throws him out.
Why is that better?
Because you should die before you hit the ground.
I don't think he's gonna, though. They're not far off the ground. It's gonna be unpleasant either way.
Yeah, that's true. They were only like 1,000 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
Huh.
Cora and Gunnar, we get to learn their plan. They fake a disabled ship with a smoke grenade and fly
Yeah, I thought this was good.
Kind of. But I mean, they fly onto the Dreadnought, right? This is a ship. It's presumably a different kind of ship than all these others. And they're claiming they have injured soldiers. There's no check whatsoever.
Yeah, but it is, I mean, I guess they could have like a license plate or something equivalent, right?
Some sort of like, I don't know, pinging? Is that a thing? They ping stuff? Do you ping
Yeah, that's
things?
a thing.
Okay.
Just one ping. But no, I as far as this movie goes, there's a lot of things to hate. I actually thought this was fine.
This isn't the worst leap in logic. The soldiers on the Dreadnought seem very helpful and empathetic.
Dude, I felt bad for these people. I don't want to skip ahead just yet, but once again, Cora is not a hero.
No. We'll skip ahead and we'll come back a little bit. But on the Dreadnought, the EMTs, there's a lot of like, I can't find the wound on this guy. And Cora and Gunnar, they have masks on. They pretend to be injured. And really, they should have had masks made of other soldiers' faces, like Silence of the Lambs. I mean, Anthony Hopkins is in this movie. You can get away with that.
Definitely isn't true, but sure.
And they're taken onto the elevator where they kill the EMTs. I think this is a war crime. I don't think you're allowed to just murder medics.
He did such a bad job of making your heroes sympathetic or making the villains not sympathetic that like I legitimately in the moment was just like, those people did not deserve to die.
No, it's the plumbers on the Death Star being constructed kind of problem, you know?
Right. Let's see here. We kind of went through that pretty quickly, so let's just double check that, make sure we didn't leave anything behind. Cora and Gunnar fake a ship malfunction so that the King's Gaze, aka the Dreadnought, will take control of the ship. And that's a good misdirect. Like, not just we'll sneak on with the other evading ships, fake a problem with the ship so that they think, oh yeah, certainly the enemy wouldn't allow us to take it over. So again, I think it's not bad. But once on board, they go to rescue them and then they are mercilessly killed for their good deeds.
Yes.
First responders killed.
Yep, absolutely. On the planet, or the moon, excuse me. The genius General Titus, his main genius battle plan is for him and Tarek to both do frontal assaults, getting mostly slaughtered. He's a terrible tactician. Like, I could do better, and I have a history of nothing but embarrassing battlefield defeats, right?
Right.
Tarek steals from Patton here, leave the dying to your enemies. Mm-hmm. Nemesis gets one of her robot hands cut off in the longhouse. The Eris, the traitor soldier, does some sort of like melee attack saving her. And so what they should have done with this whole plan, right? They're on the battlefield. They've got all these tunnels under this village, and they blow up the tunnels with attacking soldiers inside. It's sort of like a last-ditch effort by some guy in there, and it kills like most of these soldiers. Start with that. I'm no genius battlefield commander, Garrett. Well, but they lure them in by dying.
Yeah, they do.
They do. We should also note at this point, Jimmy the robot has still done nothing.
All caps, where is Jimmy? That's what my notes say. So then, this guy in a last-ditch effort sets off the charges that blow up all the tunnels, and just when they thought they were beaten, most of the Imperium soldiers are left dead. Until, Tim. The heroes think they have won when a second wave arrives with, I don't know if you came up with a name for them. I called them little warthogs, the little mechanical walking guys.
Oh, well, so this is the thing. At first, because they think they've won, and there's like all this smoke everywhere, you hear the sound of a goddamn mechanical dinosaur.
Yes.
It's roaring. There's a legit mechanical dinosaur roar. And
I love it.
Well, so, okay, I did at first until you realize it's just a tank with legs.
I'm still on board.
I was first, this is disappointing because I was crushed, and then I became immediately more excited imagining how disappointed you would be at the lack of because I'm thinking there's going to be some sort of mecha T-Rex coming through here.
When the ships were coming down, I saw them like underneath them, and so I knew they were coming, and during the whole first wave, I'm like, where's the little robot war dog. And then when he finally, so when I heard the roar, that's what I was picturing. So I was not let down.
Well, I was crushed.
They show them being like dropped off early on in the invasion, and then you don't see them again. So the whole time I was like, where are those things? They kind of look like giant ants or maybe spiders.
Yeah, but they're not. Why? What's roaring?
I think it's just machinations of the mechanics of it all.
Well,
and,
then
maybe
they've designed
blowing
these
off
really
exhaust.
poorly, because that implies to me that there's a lot of like what
A lot of cables and gears.
It sounds like there's a lot of metal scraping metal as like normal.
Yes.
Okay, but that shouldn't be.
No,
it should not be.
You got to suspend disbelief. I liked these things, the little walking. I called them warthogs. You called them dinosaurs. Both are fair.
No, they sound like dinosaurs.
Oh, excuse me. What do they look like?
Yeah, I think you got it.
Okay. I like these dudes. I thought those were fun. And so they arrive and they start fucking things up.
Yes. And simultaneously, Nemesis is getting stabbed, and the tiny blonde boy that tried to bond with her by tickling her face with wheat saves her by stabbing the soldier. And then we get a nice little, the story comes full circle. Her hard heart is softened. They cry together as Nemesis kind of lets him know he's worthy before she slumps over. And then Garrett, immediately this boy takes that lightsaber and cuts off his hands, applying the robot hands to his severed stumps, screaming in pain, but becoming the new Nemesis.
God, I wish that had happened. This would have been a way better film. Those are the opportunities that Zach missed.
Yeah, have
anyway,
a child cut off his own arms and show it. Maybe that's in the R-rated version.
Yeah, maybe in the R-rated version, this kid becomes a double amputee before taking vengeance for Nemesis.
Absolutely.
While all this is happening, we do cut back to the ship where we see Gunna and Cora leap from their gurneys, murdering the first responders, once again making us question these are the heroes. And before they set off in their own various directions to accomplish some plan we've not yet really fully realized, they kiss each other deeply, passionately.
It's
and
hot.
I have to ask, who is doing that while laying siege?
Well, Garrett, this is like the day after they had sex for the first time.
True. That's true. You know, they're just in a sea of hormones.
Absolutely. We find out she's going to set some charges everywhere while Gunner's going to get their escape ship ready, right?
Yeah, basically.
So Cora, obviously the place you want to set all these charges is the engine room. So Cora goes to the engine room and plants charges, and I cannot stress enough how this is not a joke. The Dreadnought. Now, this is a ship that can fly between stars. This is a ship that can pass by a black hole and be undeterred.
Here's what's great. There's so much weird shit that goes on in this room. I don't know what you're about to reference first.
The Dreadnought appears to run on fucking coal. There are soldiers, slaves, something shoveling coal into furnaces. You remember when the Emperor mentioned those furnaces and how it was weird that they were not on? These are the furnaces. They're coal-burning furnaces.
Folks, if you don't have a frame of reference, haven't seen the movie, first of all, what you're doing right now, criminal. Second, just picture that scene in Titanic, where the Irish are down in steerage because they're shoveling coal into
that's where they deserve to be.
Okay. Shoveling coal into hot furnaces to power a ship, a steamship. I think steamship. I don't know. Anyway, same technology, just in space. It's basically Futurama, but dumber.
Garrett, the scene gets much stranger because I don't know if you noticed where exactly she was placing the charges.
On the Neuralink, Tim.
Okay, sure. The Neuralink, Garrett. The Neuralink appears to be some sort of giant stone or metal lady with glowing eyes, glowing tubes. And if you look, there's a wide shot. It appears as though the furnaces are not powering the ship. It appears as though all of that coal fire is going into her mouth. I believe this giant stone lady is eating the fire.
So I don't know if it's, oh God, what was that terrible series of Batman movies? I don't know if it's like Schumacher style art direction or if it's a literal face, but sure enough, a giant face in there.
Well, Garrett, I can answer exactly what this is because I did a little research on www.rebel-moon.fandom.com/wiki/Kali. It turns out this face belongs to a Kali, which is an interdimensional god who is captured and enslaved by the mother world to power their technology. I don't know if it eats the coal fires, whatever. These are mentioned in the novelization of the first movie, which I regret to inform you I have not read. It will be explored more for in an upcoming animated film that Zack Snyder said
What?
someone else is going to write, but he is going to direct. So, Garrett, let me paint the picture. The Mother World found a bunch of literal space gods, Dormammus, if you will, and enslaved them. They captured and enslaved them and confined them to the engine room of interstellar ships that fly through space vaginas. These are ships that can achieve faster than light travel.
On coal.
Yeah, also somehow coal is involved. It appears to be a coal plant that runs on god power.
And that god may or may not eat fire.
And it's enslaved by man. But Garrett,
How do you enslave a god?
well, they seem like they tied it up, kinda. I don't know. If you the
Like,
wide
put it
shot,
in a
the
machine?
wide shot, it's got a whole body. It's not just a face.
I didn't see the body.
There's a body, Garrett. There's a body. The tube things seem to be like its hair or possibly its back. Like it's got. Anyway, Garrett, my point is the Mother World enslaved gods to power their interstellar starships, and also they really need that grain, Garrett, and they're gonna have trouble. A lot of trouble getting it from 30 Amish farmers. What the fuck is this stupid fucking shit?
Oh, yeah, they really don't seem to have figured out agriculture.
But they have figured out enslaving gods to power their travel betwixt the stars.
I mean, maybe you just need a lot of rope. I don't know. It's really stupid. It might be that dumb. God, that's fascinating.
We're watching that animated short film, and we're doing a episode on it.
As long as it's a short film and not a series.
Oh God, I hope it's a series. Garrett,
Anyway.
let's cancel everything we do and just focus on Zack Snyder for the rest of our lives.
I mean, listen, every time we get a little burnt out, we can do a Zack Snyder film.
There's comic
they're all
books,
gone.
Garrett, already. Published comic books.
I'm using my yearly veto on that.
It's too late. You used it on Sublime. That's why we're doing this.
God damn it. I didn't read all the... All right, let's get back to this shit. So, second wave, Cora's putting bombs all over the Neuralink/captured interdimensional god. You know, I was going to say it looked like a Dormammu, but I was like, that's going to be too confusing for people. But if it's literally an interdimensional god, that is a Dormammu.
It's a Dormammu.
Dormammu,
Perhaps
I'm here to bargain.
A Galactus even? I don't know. But I feel like I
really don't
believe
know.
that every Dreadnought class ship has a captured god within it.
I mean, it is somehow less stupid than coal power.
Disagree.
It's at least equally as dumb.
But here's the thing. It's not equally as dumb because this ship is powered by both.
Right. So it's doubly stupid.
Yes.
All right, so then after she falls down and it's revealed that this whole thing might run on coal, they get reports up to the bridge that there's a woman on board. And so Atticus says, you know what? Fuck the grain, finally. He's like, Scargiver's on board, just raise the entire planet.
Yes, and they get ready to blow up the village through an insane series of old-timey levers and wheels and cranks
So many
and
knobs.
pulleys. And so then Noble goes to find Cora. Again, though, if their plan works, if these charges go off, it's going to destroy the village still.
Well, it depends on where the spaceship is relative to the village.
It's very close.
It seems quite close. I did wonder that, if it was just going to crash into the village.
That would be great. That would be great if they won and it just killed them all and that's the end.
Yay! Anyway, so Atticus orders that they raise the entire village. Cora's trying to get back to the ship where Gunner's there while she's working on blowing it up. Back in the village, because I think it was Sam maybe managed to get, or no, it was Milius. Milius gets her hands on the rocket launcher from earlier and blows up that little mechanical warthog that Tim's so furious about. And everyone's like, oh, thank God, we're back to normal. But that, Tim, is where the third wave arrives.
Yeah,
I think, right?
Basically just another walking tank. And this one is just too much to overcome. Before they had some fight in them, but just, God damn it, there's another one.
Yeah, and these things are awesome. They fuck shit up and just cut down everybody.
You are way too into these things.
I thought, well, there's not much to be excited about in this movie.
That's fair. That's fair.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, they're not that cool. Taken on balance, you know, they're fine. But in a movie full of disappointments and confusing moments, I'm trying to hang my hat on something.
Yes. But Garrett, you must have been so excited. Do you want to tell us this? You go ahead. This is your moment.
Finally, Finally, Jimmy arrives, and he's pissed.
Yeah, but he's not going to do much.
No, he really doesn't. This time he's got sort of a punk haircut out of those antlers. I don't really understand. I guess he got like shot at, and so they got aggressively styled.
Possibly, yeah. But so he pulls open the hatch to this tank thing.
Yep.
And he does a Superman land inside the tank.
He does. Yeah. Which I at least can appreciate coming from a robot. Maybe he was programmed to do that.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, that's fair. He was programmed to do that when it was still cool, right?
Yeah.
And there's a long slow-mo shot of his cape blowing in the wind as well. He beats up and shoots some soldiers.
Yep.
And again, it's the third time the goddamn superhero land happens, and he drops a grenade and jumps out. That is the extent of his help. One tank, like 6 soldiers, that's it.
Which begs the question, if you're going to help at all, why not actually help? Why wait till the very last moment?
I don't know. He's been there. We know he's just watching this whole thing.
I would have much preferred, you gave an alternate movie last episode that disturbed everybody, but allow me to give a slightly different version of this that I think I would have enjoyed more. First, it's not 5 days. It's 2 months, 3 months, a legitimate amount of time to have a montage of them training and preparing. Second, Cora immediately agrees to go to the ship to save the city, which of course they don't hold their side, and so they still invade. But rather than having the spaceship that she arrived on used to get back onto the ship, she goes willingly, and they dismantle the ship and use all the pieces to juice up their defense. So like rip the guns off of it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Make it a real fight, led not by Titus, but by goddamn Jimmy. Yeah, way better movie, way more entertaining, and I know it's a stupid sentence, but way more like believable.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Like, yeah, instead it's just this mess.
Or here's the other thing, have the genius battlefield commander General Titus be a genius battlefield commander.
Yeah, come up with a real actual plan, like with Jimmy, though. That's important.
Yes,
Jimmy
no, absolutely,
needs to be
absolutely.
there.
Jimmy's going to be key, but he is out of this movie basically at this point. And then Garrett, in a scene designed, I believe, specifically to infuriate me. We go back to the ship. Gunnar and Cora are separated, and Gunnar calls Cora on the standard fucking radio they have apparently just had this entire time. Why has this not been used before?
Yeah, I don't know. They got that tube thing. That's pretty cool.
God damn it. Some soldiers stop the elevator she's on. She gets off and just murders them, including a guy with his own lightsaber, which she picks up and then drops like the handle is hot.
Yeah, dude, I really struggled with this.
I rewound this several times. It seemed like they were going like she grabbed the blade, like she's but that she didn't. She grabbed the handle.
Nope. Yeah, I think maybe he had gloves, and so he was able to wield it. And then when she picked it up, she was like, "Fuck, that's hot."
Maybe instead of the user have to wear gloves, maybe surround the handle with that glove material so that anyone can use it.
In any event, she takes some clothing she rips off into cool strips and wraps it around so that it creates sort of a flag situation or a what are those called? Like ribbon dancer sort of deals off of the hilt of the sword so that it can be extra cool in slow-mo, I assume.
Yes. And Noble finds her at this point. He says he's glad he gets to kill her in battle, apparently forgetting that Belisarius is going to literally crucify him if he doesn't bring his daughter back alive.
Yeah, he was pretty clear about that.
Yes. The charges Cora set to go off, apparently blowing up a god.
Either killing him or setting him free, unclear.
That would be a fun third movie. The gods seeking revenge against the mother world.
Call it Rebel Moon Part 3, Kali's Revenge.
Absolutely. I'm in. It's basically a Fantastic Four movie, except you're on Galactus' side and the whole thing is from his perspective.
I'll kill you, Belisarius. Dude, I really would be on his side. But he's killing everybody. He's killing Cora, too, because she's a child murderer.
Well, yeah, of course. All the humans, Garrett, they enslaved him. Anyway.
That's true.
So because the charges go off, the Dreadnought guns miss the village, but they do nuke an area approximately 12 feet away from the village. That's not going to be a problem, though.
I assume it's that weird village we saw earlier where we met the cantina and everything, and we're just...
The perverts are blown up?
Yeah, so it's still kind of a win.
Yeah. The ship begins falling out of the sky. Gunnar gets shot. Cora and Noble sword fight. The ship gets all sideways. This thing would be a good set piece, but it's just a little too chaotic. You can't really tell tell what's happening, which is why the slow-mo is so helpful. That keeps happening.
It is abundant.
Yeah.
It's very abundant. And I want to say, like, it is a cool idea. A ship actively falling out of the sky as people are evacuating and these two are fighting. It's a great idea.
I feel like this is also the end of Rise of Skywalker, but I can't be bothered to rewatch it to find out. I think
there's definitely, well, the very end of this movie is exactly like the Rise of Skywalker.
Sure. Noble gets the upper hand, and so he just starts choking Cora really graphically and just demanding she look at him. Open your eyes, look at me as you die. Just like in Return of the Jedi. And then Gunner stabs Noble in the back. Cora decapitates him. The head lands off screen with a splat. I'm sure that's going to be something.
I thought she cut him in half.
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
Because he was like clamped on the. Oh yeah,
again, they don't show it. I'm sure they will in the R-rated version. It will be badass. The ship crashes again. This would definitely destroy the village. This is like a meteor the size, and this is true, of a dreadnought hitting the planet. And Cora and Gunner just sort of fly a transport out the back. They crash land. And I don't know why this bothered me so much, but Cora very noticeably is not wearing a seatbelt as she crashes and this thing just spirals out of control. She's fine. Seatbelts are uncool, just like helmets, I guess.
Sure. Don't want to look stupid.
Fair enough.
She crash lands. Seems like everybody's doing okay, but oh no, Gunner's sick.
Yeah, so he's going to tell her that he loves her and then die in her arms. At some point here, she says, I kid you not, why can't I have this one thing? This is a despicable person. This is immune from parody or satire.
Yeah, she has real privilege issues.
Yeah. And then, even less helpful than Jimmy, the Blood Axe Space Fleet arrives to blow up the last, 3 remaining ships.
Yeah, suddenly Rogue Squadron's here.
Yeah.
And it's really frustrating because it literally is the end of The Rise of Skywalker where it's fucking Billy D. Williams like, we didn't forget about you, did we?
Yes, but you kind of did.
Amazing
we already
if he'd
finished
shown up.
it. Yeah. And there's this weird editing mistake because the Blood Axe sister lady, she says, form up on me. And pilot number 1 says, yes, Commander, on you. And then she says, target those ships. And the second pilot goes, yes, Commander, on you. It's fucking ridiculous. It reminds me of this first movie where Sons of Anarchy gives everyone a full introduction. And then Noble gives everyone a full introduction immediately. Like, they didn't have a second take of the second guy.
And then we'll just cut to the wingman saying something. How many different things did we get? Just the one on you.
All right, whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. No one's watching.
Nobody knows what this means.
Yeah. The rebels have won. Jimmy kind of watches impassively. Everyone's cheering, although deadly space debris is almost certainly killing everyone.
Yeah, there's going to be some sort of 9/11 foundation, but for whatever date this is, for all the people that have horrible lung cancer.
Yes.
Breathing all that space asbestos. Space asbestos.
Space asbestos, absolutely. Eris and Sam kiss, and then there's this amazing scene, Garrett. The genius battlefield commander, General Titus, is very stoic.
So weird.
And he's very stoic. And the village elder guy, somehow he wasn't killed. He yells, Titus, yeah! Like he's Howard Dean losing a Democratic primary. And Titus just turns and looks at him with this blank face and then does this weird scream back at him and then immediately goes back to being stoic.
It's bizarre.
Is it an editing mistake or is the character intended to be mocking this man?
I would bet upwards of $2,900 that they did that at the end of a take to be silly. And Zack Snyder, in his almost X-Men level ability to always do the worst idea, was like, let's keep that. God. Yeah. It's enough that, don't watch this movie. Just jump to the last 7 minutes.
No, Garrett, there's a coal furnace. This whole movie is, don't watch it multiple times is what I'm saying.
Titus screams back, looks directly into camera, which makes me think that it was not meant to be in the movie, and we cut to a bonfire of corpses.
Yes, they have a weird ceremony for the fallen. It's very moving.
I love a Viking funeral, but I've never really conceived of a Viking funeral en masse.
Oh yeah, a mass grave Viking funeral.
Yeah, that's really just a flaming pile of corpses.
Yeah.
Loses some of its majesty and certainly ups the stink factor.
Yes. Cora admits who she is, and the genius battlefield commander, General Titus, says he obviously knew. And then Garrett, in what I think is maybe the craziest part of this movie, after we have gods introduced, well, sort of, just there, it's never introduced, it's never explained.
Gods assumed. Implied. It's an implied interdimensional god. They're going to get that,
Enslaved,
right?
yeah.
Sure, Zach.
And then, Garrett, he casually says that the princess is inexplicably still alive. Now, it's never made clear how he could possibly know this information because, again, that was like a year ago at most that happened.
Right.
And he's been presumably an exile for much longer than that.
You would think.
And he then says that Cora is therefore not an assassin, even though she definitely is.
Right.
And we will spend the next 4 movies looking for the Luke Skywalker Force Ghost or whomsoever. And making this a doubly weird choice. The actress that plays this little girl Space Jesus is going to age significantly by the time they get around to making another one of these. And we all know ghosts don't age, right?
That's true. Maybe they'll like Moff Tarkin her, make her a little girl.
Yeah, that'd be great. Just she's out. Just digitize this. Jimmy butts in and offers to help on this future mission while holding a bloody antler. Now,
yeah, he's got some bloody antlers with him.
I don't care about that bloody antler, Garrett. What I do care about is the crown of antlers on his head is also bloody.
Yeah, I like that.
Garrett, was there a bunch of fights off scene where he was just like
goring people?
Goring, yes. Like he was stabbing people with his hat. And I'm imagining,
was in my movie.
Like, you know the episode of The Simpsons where they get Stampy the elephant?
Oh yeah.
And then at the end, Homer's just jabbing people with his head?
Oh yeah.
Were there scenes kind of this movie of that?
Yes, I hope.
Okay.
I suspect it's more splatter, more blood splatter. Like he's shooting people
because it's
ripping
the
their
tips,
faces off.
It's the tips.
Hey, listen, nobody wants this robot to be goring people with antlers more than I do. Nobody.
I'm just not going to see it, am I?
No, you're not.
God damn.
You're absolutely not. You need to change your expectations. So, big plot twist. Princess is alive, allegedly. Don't even know what that could mean. Jimmy's super into it because if the princess is alive, then he has purpose.
It sounds like he found a purpose again. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
And all of these movies just feel like the unsuccessful prequels to films we've never seen and will never be made.
Oh, they'll be made, but they're just going to be the prequels to other different movies.
I mean, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I'm assuming this is all just going to build up to a fight against the space gods. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It's all just turns into like the last one is just Star Wars, A New Hope.
That'd be fun.
It would not.
Yeah. Anyway, and that's the end. Terrible.
Yeah, Tim, how'd this do?
40.2 million views the first week, 2 of which were mine that first week. And it was the number 1 film on Netflix for 2 weeks, but it did have a pretty significant decline from the first one. 44.2 million views, 44.2 million hours viewed in the first 3 days compared to part 1's 54.1 million. That's only an 81.7% retention rate, which may seem high, but again, these are Zack Snyder fans. That should be well over 100%.
Yeah, there's just too many normies like you and me going, not good, not doing this.
But I watched it twice that first week.
Right, you've got mental problems. What did people think of it?
Critics hated it, 15% on Rotten Tomatoes, 3.8 out of 10 on average. The consensus, less a course correction than a compounding of everything that tangled up its predecessor. The Scargiver is an uninvolving space opera full of flat notes.
God, they really did double down on everything.
Metacritic gave it a general unfavorable review with 36 out of 100. Simon Abrams of RogerEbert.com gave it 1 out of 4 stars, saying it feels as anemic and negligible as the non-sexual scenes in a floppy, overproduced porno.
That guy's watching porn wrong.
David Ehrlich of IndieWire called it a catastrophic bore of a film. I agree with all of those, except for the porn thing. I like the interstitials.
It's all about the story for you.
Absolutely.
Gross. Any other reviews?
No, this is a Netflix exclusive and unavailable on Amazon. Unfortunately, the novelization will not be released until June 4th, where I hope to God we get more detail about those space demon things.
The Kali?
The Kali. The Kalima.
Shukti.
Yeah, I'm going to read them and I'll provide an Amazon comment update later.
What a great use of time. Tim, who's this for?
Zack Snyder and his fanboys, Garrett.
Yeah, I agree. You know what? Let's compliment Zack Snyder a little bit.
Great
I'll
director,
try to.
great movies.
No. He does make the movie he sets out to make.
Yes.
For better or worse.
Yes, I believe this to be exactly what he had in his head.
Yeah, and I appreciate an artist who has a vision. Now, granted, this one seems to be cobbled together from everybody else's visions, and executes on it. It's not easy to make a movie. So,
sure. He's
good job.
Accomplished something that neither one of us will ever make, will ever be able to come close to.
That's true.
But it sucks.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's a miracle this thing got made. It's very impressive.
Yeah.
But it sucks.
And I mean that in a number of ways. All right, that brings us to final thoughts. Let me start with, I enjoyed the action in this movie more than the first one.
Sure.
I'm a sucker for war scenes. As I mentioned, I thought the initial invasion looked pretty good. I liked the little mechanical warthog guys. Those were fun. The first hour of this movie couldn't be more boring.
No.
And I'm trying to think, what does it accomplish?
Nothing. It just is there to confuse, I think, because again, he put this timetable on here where it just didn't need to be there. Again, like you said, the movie you wrote where they took apart the ship and actually built defenses and, had more time is better. I mean, again, they would still just bomb this place from space.
Yeah, but at least it would be like more conceivable.
Maybe stop saying grain and wheat so much.
Yeah. I could have used less farming montage.
Oh, I could have used more of that.
Interesting.
Maybe if he had muted the colors a little bit more on the farming.
I was going to say, I think there was slightly more color in this.
Oh, I was being
movie.
Sarcastic.
And I know, but you still reminded me. I think there was slightly more color in this movie than the last. But that could just be that less of it took place in space.
I'm happy that there were no on-screen attempted rapes in this film.
Me too. Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of Nazi imagery, though. Like unearned Holocaust imagery and like
Holocaust co-opting.
He was trying to trade on our sympathies for the people that suffered in the Holocaust to make us like this movie more.
Yeah, as a shortcut. That's not good.
No.
That's almost as bad as somebody who shoots a little girl in the chest. No, it's not. That woman's bad. The hero of this movie's not a hero. That's weird.
None of them
It's
are.
not even an anti-hero. It's just an assassin of children.
Interesting. I always thought because I know you have the child assassin. It's okay. I'm not going to mention it. Yours are children who assassinate, right? They be I'm just saying they're not killing other children.
You're talking about having like a street level gang of children assassins. Yeah, that's one thing. But no, this lady's just an assassin of children. Like she has the inverse of most assassins who are like, hey, no kids. This lady
only kids.
Exclusive. Only kids. That's a dark occupation.
All right. Garrett, there is so much more to come. Co-writer/collaborator Kurt Jonstad, who is the one that announced there will be a trilogy of 6 films in this series minimum. He said that the treatments are finished for the 3rd and 4th film. Zach Liss is currently finishing up writing the official script for the 3rd. While there's no novelization of the film yet, there is a promised short animated film that we will watch. There is a novelization of the first movie. There is a guide to the cosmology and technology of the universe. There's a guide to the characters. There are Funko Pop toys. There are Diamond Select toys, some of which just look like G.I. Joes where the characters are literal Nazis. There's a book called Rebel Moon: House of Blood Axe coming August 6th. There are comic books / graphic novels, and there will be a whole lot more.
That's insane. Who is consuming this?
I don't know.
I mean, sounds like a lot of it us.
This feels like a lot of grandmas are going to be buying their grandchildren this merchandise for Christmas, and then those grandchildren are going to be very disappointed.
Yeah. The man at the store said the Scargiver toys were what the kids liked.
Well, he did whisper the Scargiver. And,
I bought these Nazi toys for you. I hope you like them. I don't understand your generation playing with Nazis. Surely it's just a looks thing. What does this gentleman do? He oppresses peoples, conquers them, and kills anyone who resists them. Oh, so they're Nazis. Okay.
Yes, he also set up a bunch of galactic POW camps and work camps.
But there's this lady. She's the hero. Oh, that's good. What does she do? Well, she did murder a girl. She's a child assassin. Well,
And
you
again-
can't blame children for what they do. No. She kills only children. I don't like your games.
Do you think she's just a bad assassin? And so, like, she can't be trusted to kill an adult, so she's just who they hired to kill the children that
Maybe
need
she's just a
killing?
lazy assassin.
Oh, yeah.
Like, she could do the heavy lifting and take out, a grown adult-sized man or woman, but she's just like, yeah, kids are just easier.
Maybe this
They don't
is
see
like
it
a
coming.
going back to kill baby Hitler situation. Like maybe
Oh.
Belisarius had some information from the future that everything was going to get a lot worse if this girl survived.
I think there's like a 10% chance that's what Zack Snyder's writing.
God damn it.
I hope you're right. Everybody
Oh.
mark it. Try to remember. Tim predicted that the killing of the Princess Issa was actually a good thing.
You know what would have been fun is when they were in the assassination scene, because they were in the engine room. So they were in the room with
Yeah.
a literal enslaved god. If this god,
Yes.
if just in the corner this thing had just been like, free me, help me.
It's just moaning from the corner, let me out.
And everyone just at that point is just so immune to it, they just ignore it.
Coal. I need coal.
Feed me fire.
Just so happens the heat fire. Oh, all right. That's the end of this nonsense. Tim, do you hate this movie?
Yes, I hate this more than the other. I think that this is the Lulu of movies. And I want to be clear, Garrett. I cannot wait for the animated film. I cannot wait for the next 4 movies. I cannot wait to torture you with more of this. I might buy you some Nazi toys.
Oh, I got a Belisarius. Said no child.
The Atticus Noble is a really, really upsetting toy design.
Comes with its own drugs and sex monster.
Oh my God. I hope they didn't include that. Oh, I
Tough to
forgot
say.
about that thing. Anyway, Garrett, did you hate this movie?
Yes, I did. I found it to be quite bad. I think I like the second one more than the first one.
I disagree, but okay.
I can at least say, like, once the second half gets rolling of the second one, like, it's mostly downhill. Like, it's action set piece. The rounding up the crew in the first one was so lengthy.
Well, it was the entire movie. And the first movie was actually like 30 minutes longer than this movie.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was that, too. Yeah, so I think I enjoyed the second one, maybe solely because it cut, a quarter of its length. Alrighty. You hate it, I hate it. Of course we do. It's really bad. Listeners, I hope you've enjoyed this weird sojourn into the world of film. We picked some really tough ones to talk about, especially back to back, given that they're both largely the same side of the same, two sides of the same coin. That is to say, one stinky, awful, not very inspired coin. But next week, it's back to the regularly scheduled programming. We'll be back to talk about a very special song from the past that we will not reveal just yet. Until then, rate, review, subscribe, follow, whatever it is that you can do to let other people know you enjoyed this show and you think others should as well. We're on all the platforms except for Pandora Premium. They know why. So you can find us out there and subscribe on all those various channels. On Instagram, we're HatePod. Twitter's Album HatePod. I'm G Harvey Tweets. We're on Threads as well. That's HatePod. We got a subreddit, Discord servers. Basically, Google us. If you want to get in touch with us, it's not that hard. But for this week, we're all done. For these movies, we're all done till the next 4 to, I guess it could technically be 16.
It could be infinite.
Well, sure. But he could have meant a trilogy of 6 movies, which would be 18. Dear God, may God have mercy on us all if that's the case. I have been one of your hosts, Garrett Harvey.
I've been the other, Timothy P. Richardson, and on October 9th, 2016, Garrett P. Harvey said, he's not an idiot. He's an idiot's apprentice.
Yeah, hadn't aspired to the great heights of idiocy.
Was that about me?
I don't recall now. I don't think so.
Because that would make you the idiot.
Shit.
There's cowboys running through my dreams. Nothing's quite the way it seems. I joined the Navy, got kicked out in a week. My facial features aren't distinct. Try to find some meaning in these songs. The genius is a genius, got it wrong. No, it's a lobster monster murder sex thing. It's the bleaching of the rear. A full assault on both your ears. The riffs are too repetitive. The lyrics make no sense. All the songs are B-sides. The cover art's a mess. Listen to it for a week. Now that week has passed. It's the Why I Hate This Album podcast with Tim and Gary.